Well, it's Michael Angelo Caruso, your new BFF. I'm here again with a Talk to Me podcast with my buddy Tim Scott. And how are you, Tim?
Great.
It's nice to see you, man.
Yes.
Tim's got a special announcement, and you're going to be interested in that special announcement, especially if you're interested in the stuff that I do for a living,
Hmm.
coaching people, helping people improve their presentation skills. If you've ever wanted to make more of yourself in that way, you're going to want to listen to this segment.
Hmm.
If you're watching on video, everybody, you want to tune into the audio podcast once in a while because you can do that when you're on the treadmill or driving or walking the dog. Just hook up your earbuds and enjoy the podcast. And if you'd like to watch these types of interviews, make sure that you check out the YouTube channel. You're probably on that right now. And if you are, please click that red subscribe button and tap that silver bell so you're notified of all new content. If you've been tracking this program, you know that Tim and I have chatted once before when he announced something that he was quite uncomfortable with at the time, but I don't know,
Hmm.
maybe he's learning to live with this now. Tim, tell everybody
Right.
about your condition, apraxia.
Primary progressive apraxia of speech. It's less than 1 in a million.
Rare.
Rare.
And when we chatted in November,
Yeah.
you stuttered a bit, but I don't know that you
Hmm.
stuttered any more than some of my nervous friends.
Yeah.
Uh, can can you talk about how the condition has advanced?
Uh, I, I'm, of course, my worst hypocrite, um, my own worst enemy.
Your own worst
So
critic.
yeah, or an worst critic.
I'm my own worst hypocrite as well. That's a good
Right.
one.
Right. Uh, uh, so when I talk to people, they don't see any decline in my speech, but I do.
So I notice a bit of a decline since November.
Right.
Of course, I'm really paying attention to it, and I'm tracking you carefully.
Hmm.
Um, and interestingly enough, this apraxia, which usually impacts the left side of the brain, which is the speech part of the brain,
Right.
um, it's in the news, but for an odd reason. Bruce Willis, the actor, is stepping away from acting. He made the announcement just a couple days ago, but he doesn't have apraxia. He has something called aphasia, which is
Aphasia,
similar but different, right?
similar or different, totally different. Ap- Aphasia means you don't know what to say, and apraxia means you know what to say. The words just don't come out clearly.
Yeah, it has to do with the actual birth of the of what you're trying to say, the
Right.
creation of it.
Right.
Um,
There's a disconnect between the brain and the speech.
yeah, and there's also something quite gloomy about apraxia, as I recall, is you could actually die from it because it eats away at your brain or something. I'm
Yes,
sure I'm not
yes,
speaking.
yes.
How do you talk about that?
Uh, I'm gonna live for 10 or 15 years. Um, I'm just making the most every day.
How old are
Mhm.
you now?
45.
Yeah.
I created a Facebook group for PPAOS. Uh, I have to get approve a Mayo Clinic. Um, so they send it out to all the study participants. There's 9 in the group. The next year, youngest one is 61.
61.
Mhm.
Why is that? It afflicts older people more?
Yeah, 2/3 of people are diagnosed before age 65
Hmm.
or after age 65.
And before we get into the primary reason for the call, which is to help you get ready for two big things that are coming up, we'll announce in
Mhm.
just a second. I know you're
Right.
excited. I am too. Um, when you were diagnosed with this condition, you realized that it would change your life in a dramatic way.
Right.
You left your job at Premier Bank,
Hmm.
retired early, essentially, age 45,
Right. Right.
and you moved your family to another home,
Right.
forever home for them, I suppose. Is that the idea?
Hmm. Yeah. We moved back home. My wife and I, high school sweethearts. So we moved back to where we grew up. Um, the kids love Chester. Uh, Switching schools was a big concern for me and Jen. Um, the fact that the girls love it
Right?
means everything to us.
Okay. And
Hmm.
I'm glad things are working out because I know
Right.
that was a big shift for you guys.
Hmm.
Um, So I'm just trying to give our listeners and viewers a chance to appreciate the impact of this. This is no small thing that you're going through, and
Right.
because it's no small thing, you've had a couple of invitations recently that are quite remarkable. Would you like to
Hmm.
publicly, I know a lot of people don't know this yet, but by the time the recording comes out, it'll be official.
Right. I'm going to do a TEDx in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, April 28th. And also the South Dakota Public Broadcasting TV TV is going to do a documentary on me and my disease.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
It gives you a chance to express yourself about what you're going through, help others who may have the condition,
Hmm.
educate everybody, including people
Right.
that don't have the condition.
Right.
And it's a big thing, man. I can't tell you how many times people call me and say, I want to get a TED Talk. All you had to do to get one was get Apraxia.
Apply. Yeah. I think it's ironic that all I wanted to do in my career was speak and write books. And I'm speaking, writing books.
I remember you were telling me that a book was coming out. Do you have an update on that or a title yet?
Uh, um, my family book is first. I actually just emailed the editor. Editor said proceed with a copy. Uh, I'm gonna write a business book called Speechless, and that's how to obtain and maintain your relationships.
I love the title, Speechless.
Yes. I also bought the domain name speechless.live. Um, so it has all the podcasts I've done on it,
Great.
and two articles that the paper wrote on me, um, and some additional information. Your podcast is on there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, we met initially when you hired me to come speak at your bank. This was way before any of this stuff happened. I think that you had kind of an inkling that you were having trouble getting some words out, but it hadn't
Right.
been diagnosed or anything.
Right.
And there's been such a change since last time we talked. But it's good
Hmm.
to see a smile on your face, and I'm glad you're
Yeah.
doing well. Um, so we agreed to get together today to talk about camera techniques and interview
Right.
techniques.
Right.
The TED Talk is going to be quite different than the camera work you'll do for the PBS interview.
Hmm.
Let's talk about the PBS interview first. Um, I assume that there'll be an interview that is part of a kind of a documentary on the condition. Am I reading that right?
Yes.
Okay. And do you know what percentage or how long the show is supposed to be? A half hour, an hour?
An hour. That's
Okay.
the original plan.
And do you know how much they want to interview you? How much content they're looking for?
Um, I was told 10 minutes of video for every 1 minute of production.
Okay, so they may have to talk to you for an hour to get 6 minutes of content.
Right, right.
Yeah, that's
And
pretty common.
plus, they're going to interview people who are important in my life. Um, my mom, my brother, um, my high school band teacher, my high school ag teacher, my high school English teacher, and then we're going to head to my alma mater, Northern State University, and interview some professors there.
We should have them on this call so they can get these tips.
Right.
You're going to be the best speaker on the program. Okay. So they'll have some set of instructions for you, and of course you want to listen to what they say. Typically they set up, it's a 3-point arrangement, so there would be you, the subject, the interviewer over here, and probably the camera over here. Do you see the triangle, the 3 points?
Yeah.
And what they'll want is not to have you look at the camera. You would instead look at the interviewer. They may also set up 2 cameras, one with a medium shot or probably a close-up shot, and
Right.
a second camera with a medium shot. In screenwriting, they call it a CU for close-up and an MS for a medium shot.
Yeah.
So one of the interesting things about your condition is the very thing that most speakers will curse
Right.
is what's going to make your interview better,
Yes.
the flaws.
Yeah.
Because if you had apraxia and you didn't have any stutters or stammers or any problems getting the words out, it wouldn't be a very good interview about an apraxia victim.
No.
So I think the interesting part is going to be how you deal with the delays, which you've already learned to deal with them in a number of ways. You can deal with them with frustration.
Right.
You can deal with them patiently, impatiently, with humor, as you've done with me already on this call.
Yes.
And I think they'll all be effective. I think if you just got on and grimaced through the whole thing, it probably wouldn't be good. But if you laugh at yourself a little bit,
Right.
it'll play very well. And hopefully the interviewer will help you if you say hypocritical instead of something else that you mean. I'm my own worst critic. Hopefully someone will have the presence of mind to either fix it in real time like we did in this call, or they'll say, like in Hollywood, they go, cut, take 2.
Yeah.
You know? So I think that will be the easier one to do because there's a stop and go with camera work in a documentary. If the scene isn't working, if a light falls in the background, we just do it over again. And I know a lot of these shows, they keep asking the question until they get the response they want for the ratings.
Right.
PBS isn't quite as concerned about that kind of a thing, but I know that's what they do in reality shows.
Right.
Do you have any apprehension about doing the TV interview?
Quite honestly, no.
Okay. Good. I think you'll do great. And then, of course, they're going to fix everything in editing, which is another gift of doing the camera work. So that leaves the TEDx assignment, which is a bit more challenging. I've always thought you were a really likable guy, very smooth and easy. And I think you still have a lot of that style with you.
Right.
But something's going to kick in on stage that maybe you're not used to. Have you done a lot of talks since the condition was diagnosed?
Yes. I spoke to the USD students last week.
Oh, how did that go?
Great.
How did you feel?
Great.
Okay.
I'm officially unicorn, Michael.
You're a unicorn.
It's so rare that I've talked to tons of classes.
Okay.
Yeah. Cease pathology classes.
Yeah. I bet they're fascinated.
Right.
So tell me about your method. Are you using notes, PowerPoint, any kind of visual aids?
PowerPoint. I just was working on that this morning. I'm going to have 3 screens. My title, my primary progressive apraxia speech, and my brain PET scan,
Okay.
right? So they do have a cheater monitor up there in front of you,
Yeah.
which I'm gonna outline my notes.
Okay.
Mhm.
And these talks are 20 minutes, an hour? How long?
18 minutes. 18 minutes
Because
max.
you're practicing for TED.
Yeah,
And TED Talks are 18 minutes. Good boy.
right. Yeah,
That's pretty smart.
yeah.
So do you handle Q&A after the 18-minute mark?
No,
You don't do Q&A.
no.
Why?
Because that's a TED Talk rules. 18 minutes, you're off stage.
Yeah, but you could do Q&A at these live events.
Yes. When I spoke last week to University of South Dakota students, they asked questions.
Okay.
Mhm.
And did you get any stumpers, or were you pretty comfortable with that?
I was pretty comfortable with that.
Okay.
The thing that I get stumped on is how are my kids handling it? And I say, kids are kids. They still talk back to me.
That's a funny line.
Right.
Uh, do emotions creep in at certain moments, like talking about the family or anything?
Yes. As I said in the past on your podcast, I'm never going to get me my grandkids.
Yeah, it's a powerful line.
Right.
Uh, so it's an emotional, it's a line that's got an emotional payload, but it doesn't mean that you're impacted emotionally every time you say it, or are you?
Uh, Not every time I say it,
Okay.
because I just said it right now, and it bothers me, but it doesn't bother me.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to tell you a story, and you can do with it what you will.
Mm-hmm.
When I first got started in the business, I needed a signature story. And you remember what a signature story is. It's that piece, 2 minutes to 4 minutes, that's exclusive to you as a speaker. No one can tell my signature story. I can't tell anybody else's. This is a
Mm-hmm.
story that's uniquely mine, and it helps people understand who I am at the core, either my humor or my style or my family or my outlook or my philosophy. So it's one of those pieces. And because it was early in my career and I didn't know how to craft a signature story, I defaulted to my brain stem and I developed something that came to be known as the mom story, my mom story.
Mm-hmm.
Every speaker has a mom story and a dad story because they're the easiest to come by for most people.
Right.
So I'm going to give you the short version of my mom story, and then I'm going to tell you why I told you. And then if you want to pull a lesson from that, we can talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a quick little story. Um, my mom was 60 years old, and she was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. I'm trying to remember the story now and how I told it. There is no stage 5. A lot of people wonder about that. That's a good line in the thing, gets people's attention. Oh, mom's going to die. I get it.
Right.
And uh, and we went through all the things that the stages of grief, denial, anger, bidding, all of the stages. And there were a couple of moments along the way that were really interesting. At one point, my mom was in getting ready to go to hospice. And at the time, I don't know if it's changed since then. This was back in 1993.
Mm-hmm.
The hospice workers called the family in for a meeting, all of us. I have 3 brothers, my mother and my father. So 6 of us in the room, plus the hospice lady. And she said she was explaining the process that hospice comes to the house at a certain time in the illness. 6 weeks, sorry. At the time, it might have been 6 weeks before they expected her to pass. And they had enough
Mm-hmm.
data points on lung cancer, they kind of knew when my mom was going to pass. So she was just trying to prepare us for this mentally. And she said, when we come in to to the home, we bring a bed, a large bed with us. And the bed now plugs into the wall. It's one of those beds that can recline, like a hospital bed. This is like a piece of furniture, this bed. And you bring it into the home, you put it in the home once. You don't move it. You don't dust around it. It comes into the home, you use it, and then it leaves the home, if you get my drift.
Right.
And I'll never forget that there was like this, she was building up to this big moment. And the question was, where would you like us to put the bed when we bring it to the home? Because she's got to put it on the entry form, the data form.
Mm-hmm.
And when she asked the question, everybody started to answer. Not right away, we took turns, but everybody started to weigh in on this. And I weighed in right away. I knew the answer right away. Well, it has to go in my mom's bedroom because that's where she'll be most comfortable, you know? And then I think my brothers agreed with me. That's the best place to put it. And before long, my dad was giving us the evil eye for speaking too quickly. And because it really wasn't a question for us, it was a question for my mom. And
right.
we were all young men, testosterone, we wanted to get the answer and help my mom, of course, help her decide. We were helping. And my dad gave us the evil eye and we just shut it down. And we all looked at my mom to hear what her answer was. And what do you think she said?
Bedroom.
No, she said, I'd like it in the living room.
Yes.
And we said, why? Why you want it in the living room? And she says, because I don't want to be in the back bedroom away from everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a lovely moment and a real eye-opener for us, Tim, because my mom did not want to die in the back bedroom. She wanted to die in the living room.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that lovely?
It's lovely.
And when I told this story, because a good story develops and you curate it as you go and you take your time, we've talked about the delivery of a proper signature story. I would relive the moment. I would relive the whole thing. And I would get emotional. Not every time, just like you, but sometimes. What I learned was, as a professional speaker, because speaking is a kind of acting, I could lean into the tears. I could lean into the pain. And it would be a much different delivery than if I didn't lean into it. Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
Yes.
So by not keeping my emotions apart from this very sensitive story, it became a better story. I became a better speaker, and the audience was more well served. Do you catch what I'm trying to tell you here?
Yes.
I'm not saying cry on purpose.
Yeah. But you're saying show some emotion.
I'm saying don't be afraid to show the emotion. Don't hide
Right.
it, thinking it makes you a better speaker or makes the story better, because it's not necessarily true.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And when I gave myself permission to do that, on that day, I became a better presenter.
Right.
Now, the moral of the story is I had to take the damn story out of my motivational presentation because it was I was supposed to be helping everybody feel better about themselves, and I kept bringing them down. And one day, a woman ran crying from the class, and I'm like, man, I'm good. I made her cry too. I found out later her mom was in hospice at the very day she attended my class.
Yeah.
And I felt terrible about that. So speaking is a superpower. And like with any superpower, you want to be careful how you use it. I'm so proud of you, man. You've come so far, not only in the little amount of coaching that we've done together, but I'm very proud of
Right.
how you're handling this.
Thank you.
I'm sure you're hearing that from a lot of people.
Yes.
What other questions do you have for me, if any, about these two big shindigs coming up? Is anything tugging at you? Is it and you may feel this way. Man, I've got apraxia. I don't have any problems with speaking anymore. I don't have any problems with all the little stuff anymore. Any anxiety, insecurities, maybe
Right.
that's all melted away.
Yes, it has.
Okay.
it's a good excuse to be a poor speaker, because I have a powerful story.
You sure do.
Mhm.
You sure do. And are you happy with the order of I call them bits when I do it because there's a lot of humor in what I do, like a stand-up comedian.
Mhm.
But there's modules or bits or components to that 18 minutes. Are you happy with the order?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You might think about that as you move toward it. You know, sometimes it makes all the difference in the world to move one of the powerful bits to the end.
Right.
Because my experience is a lot of times when we build the speech out, we get set in that order and we don't want to move it. We even forget that we can move it around.
Right.
And it just stays the same way that we saw it initially, when in fact it could be better by jumbling it up a bit. All right. Sounds like you got it under control, brother.
Yes.
Well, I'm so proud of you. I keep trying to get some activity in Sioux Falls or in South Dakota somewhere where I can come see you. Will you send me the date of your talk and maybe I'll surprise you that day?
Perfect.
Okay.
April 28th.
Okay. And where's the event being held?
Washington Pavilion.
What is that?
It's an old high school that they refurbished
Okay.
for the arts.
Okay.
There's a huge auditorium, and we're going to be in a small one, which holds 1,600 people.
Okay. And for those watching and listening, it's April 28th of 2022. When
Right.
is the PBS crew coming out?
We start filming next Thursday in Aberdeen.
Okay.
Next Friday, we're gonna shoot in the Chester area, and then we don't have anything scheduled after that.
Did they tell you how long it's going to be in production or when it's going to air?
Hopefully this fall.
Okay.
I'll keep you in the loop.
All right. And I've been watching your Facebook page. And
Mhm.
is it okay if we tell everybody how to find you online and stay with you on this journey?
Yes.
So it's Tim Schut, everybody, TIMSCHUT.
Yes.
On Facebook with a personal page, but maybe you've got someplace else you want to send them?
I have a Facebook page, Speechless with Tim Schut. I have an Instagram page, Speechless with Tim. Of course, Twitter at Tim Schut.
Okay. And it's the reason, again, everybody, Speechless with Tim Schut is the name of the group because Speechless is the name of the upcoming book. And I couldn't be
Right.
happier for you. I hope you
Yeah.
sell 1 million copies.
Yes. Me too.
Well, you keep in touch and let me know what else I can do for you, okay?
Okay.
All right, you're the best, baby. I love
Thank you,
you.
Michael. Love you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.